Yeah.
Okay, I got one minute. So that if you want to revisit what I say, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also.
tapi live stream ke
Yeah,
ke
but
kita
not
aja.
this time.
Ke kita aja. It's okay, alright. I should use my tab. Only thing is I'm not so well versed yet.
Okay.
Okay. I would start. You got it. I would start. Okay. I will start on a couple of things and then to give feedback, and this is applicable to the rest of you. In fact, a lot of things I will share this morning will be very applicable to the rest of you. And that's why very important to have our group supervision and I practice this so that we can do group learning and exchange of ideas and the feedback I give is not just for one person, and the rest can also share the learning process. Yeah. So first of all, you maintain the time, which is good. You started at 9:59 at 9:39, right, or 9:40, and then you ended before 10:07, which is less than 30 minutes. So the time given is usually between 20 minutes to 30 minutes, right? So that is the important point to know. So one thing that you do want to practice, you meaning all of you, right, is that you practice to make sure the presentation is within the time limit. You do not want to deliver the most important part of your presentation towards the end. There's something more important, and the time runs out. Right? So that is an important thing. So I need to achieve that, which is good. I will go through a couple of things. Some somewhat random based on the sequence of your presentation. I will highlight certain things that are important, yeah, but these are more sequential comments I'm going to make, right? You did point out the idea of perantau and migrants and immigrants, right? So you might want to note that perantau extends beyond the term immigrant, right? So you can generally define perantau as travelers. So and then you can say in the context of our discussion, in the context of my research, I'm referring perantau as immigrants, right? Immigrants. So you can limit the scope of the definition because you're not debating what the perantau is, right? Which is a different kind of research, which is fine as well. But you say in the context of research, I'm looking at perantau from the point of view, from the perspective of immigrants, right? Okay. So that's one point. The other point is that since immigrant is an important concept in your presentation, so you got to get the pronunciation right. It's not immigrant, it's immigrant.
Oh, immigrant.
Immigrant, yeah. So take note of that. Now we go to multi-sector model education principle for children of Indonesian migrant workers. Okay. Case study of Sabah, Malaysia. Alright. Now we go to the next point, which is your slide number 2. This is good because you give a kind of a historical context to your presentation. You go to the introduction number 2. Introduction number 2. Okay. What is it I want to say for introduction number 2? Now, it's good that you show that there are 4 types of institutions. So 4 types of education institutions, and you actually highlight that you're going to focus mainly on CLCs. Now, and then you use the word CLCL and CLCN, is that it?
CLC ladang, CLC non ladang.
No ladang, okay. I don't know whether you want to stick to the word ladang or
I change to English.
English. You want to think through that part because I prefer the idea of indigenous knowledge. Yeah, so I like the idea of the maintaining certain vocabularies that are indigenous. Now that said, ladang is not quite an indigenous concept in that sense, right? Because here we're talking about commercial ladang and very much a commodity type ladang, right? So I'm not sure it's important to make it a bahasa word. So you might want to think about it, but you want to maintain, go ahead. But since you already have CLC, suddenly you have a bahasa word there. So I'm not sure that is necessary, right? Or in fact, if you use English word, the search becomes, somebody were to search, right? Then they would find your construct of CLC would be more relatable conceptually, internationally. So there's estate workers, non-estate workers, and that extends beyond Malaysia, of course, right? So you think about it. I'm not very strong about this suggestion, but it's something that you want to think. My general preference is to use bahasa for indigenous knowledge, for local wisdom. Again, I said ladang is not necessarily local wisdom in this concept. It's very much a commercial concept, a commodity concept. It's very much a capitalist kind of ladang than the old ladang and so on. So you might want to. And then there's more relevance to using estate than the term ladang. Yeah. Okay, but I like the fact that you identified the four types of education institution. You might want to.
Because location.
Is that?
Location of CLC is in
Ladang, in the Ladang estate, yeah, the estate. So I'm talking about the term as ladang. So it might be better to use estate because ladang here is first is a bahasa. Although I said I prefer bahasa because of local wisdom and all that. But in this concept, it's not quite local wisdom. It's very much a commercial, commodity-centered kind of concept. Ladang here is estate, right? Estate, yeah. Now that said, Hanif, there are other kind of this is much more formal education institutions. There are also non-formal education institutions, like the one RQV in Permai, which is part of Sangha Bimbingan. But I'm thinking there might be other kind of setups like that, like the NU might have their own little setups of madrasah type atau bagaimana gitulah. So maybe you want to call it more formal education institutions, right? So the term here is formal rather than, because there might be some informal education institution as well, right? And although you can argue the madrasah type education institution can also be formal. So I don't know whether
overview about CLC. What is CLC kind of education?
So Hanif is talking about education institution as a whole. So CLC is part of the population of education institution, right? So there might be others. So one way is put number 5, others, right? And then you can just talk about lump everything else under others there. So you recognize there's another category of others, kind of residual category, right? Others. So the apa namanya, the religious kind of although religious can be also Sangha Bimbingan, maybe not, I don't know. But just for you to know also that just in case there might be others there. What is it? I know that there's some the Gontor gurus are being invited to teach in Penang. So I'm not sure that they have students from Indonesia as well. So anyway, but that might be something that you want to recognize what you said, right? Okay. So this is ini. What is it? Okay. So you kind of problematize a bit here, which leads to your problem statement, I guess. So you noted that the phenomena of CLCs are much more prevalent in Sabah than Peninsula, Semenanjung, right? So he kind of noted it a bit, but it's okay. You know, whether you want to make that an issue here or later on, but just take note of that point. That will lead to problem statement, right? Okay, go to the next one, which is your literature review. So you have this here thematic literature review. So here are different, you call them theories. Literature review. All right, okay. This is okay. And then move to the next one. Still under. So the theme is still under literature review, right? Because you are doing thematic, right? Okay. Here is where you use the word theory, where you use theory to explain the situation or the phenomena of what's happening in Sabah, right? Okay. So maybe some are theories, maybe some are perspectives rather than theory. You know, so the role of non-state actor. You know, this is more perspective. So you can put theories, concepts / perspectives rather than. Some are not developed into theory, you know, more like perspective, right? But the perspective can be theoretical perspective, conceptual perspective, or you know, more like preliminary perspective as well. So more like a general concept that you could use. Okay, so this is literature review leading towards your problem statement. Now let's go to your. So this is good. This is workable, very workable. It shows that you are capturing the right type of literature leading towards your problem statement. Okay, your problem statement number one. You couldn't enlarge it. I cannot see. Right. So you must enlarge this one because in your presentation you got to enlarge it. Even now I still cannot see. Partly I'm not wearing my glasses, but then still the writing is still small, I think, right? Right. So I'm not sure I can see your presentation, your name, and you probably have you want to make the whole thing bigger there, right? So that's very important. Oh, what's happening here? Pizarro is just came in. Okay. Go back there. Okay, good. Now. You also use the word theoretical vacuum somewhere there. You want to be careful about theoretical vacuum and empirical vacuum, right? Since you kind of touch on the idea of the Sabah phenomena, right, versus the phenomena in Semenanjung or Peninsula Malaysia, right? So that sounds somewhat like empirical vacuum, but the good thing is that you did mention the idea of existing theories or existing literature cannot explain the phenomena in Sabah, right? So that would highlight the idea of theoretical vacuum or conceptual vacuum. So you want to be careful about location being the vacuum. You want to highlight the theory being the vacuum, not the location. So if you talk about location being the vacuum, then it can become empirical vacuum, right? Although for master's degree, the demand for theoretical or conceptual vacuum analysis is not as important as PhD, yeah? So, but then you definitely have a theoretical vacuum here. So you want to say that the idea of the explanation previously, the various perspectives from theme number 2 just now, right? Theme number 2, is that right? Theme number 2, right? All the perspectives cannot explain what's happening in Sabah, or have not explained, right? Instead of cannot, use the word have not, right? One shows capability, the other one shows behavior. So have not explained that. So there is a theoretical vacuum there, right? Or conceptual vacuum. So that's actually a very important point. That's actually very workable. So this is something that Hanif is doing that the rest of you could also emulate, about talking identifying something that has not been explained before by existing literature, by existing theory. So that's something that's good. I do want to highlight a couple more things that's working by what Hanif is doing. That you were standing and explaining versus reading the slides, right? So instead of reading the slide, number one, it shows that you have not really mastered the material well. The other thing is that it is less convincing when you read instead of explain, right? So presentation is about presentation of your material instead of reading the material. So you're presenting to somebody, so to the audience. So what Hanif you did is good, that you're explaining and it shows that you understand the material well. And then the other part to what you have done is actually you have a good grasp, a group understanding of the methodology as well. So, by the way, that's important, methodology, because methodology is where the examiners would almost always, yeah. In fact, seldom I attended Viva where the examiners do not touch on methodology. So methodology is almost something that you will need to understand. Now, the challenge is this. You say, I want to understand only my methodology, right? But the examiners would have their own paradigm of methodology and what methodology is suitable, what methodology is not suitable, and they all have biases about methodology as well. So they might think it should be like this, should not be like that, should be like this methodologically, right? So you will need to not only understand your methodology, you will need to understand other methodologies. So Hanif referred to the book, right? The Tao Te Ching of methodology, or the Bible of methodology, or the Quran of methodology, right? Which is Norman Blakey's book. So you must read Norman Blakey's book, because in Norman Blakey's book, he's one of the top 10 methodologies in the world. So he actually explains the various methodologies. So you must understand the various methodology in order to help you to become really strong and arm you mentally and theoretically and technically about methodology. So when people ask, oh, that is deductive, I'm using inductive. Oh, that is retroductive, I'm using a combination of inductive and deductive, right? You are using secondary source. That's not primary source? Remember that conversation that Samir had with the accessors, right? That could have easily explained away and defended by the presenter when you understand methodology. And you want to be able to first understand methodology and then be able to answer examiners and evaluators in a way that does not attack the examiners, because the examiners tend to have certain belief system, biases, and sometimes they are wrong, right? So you do not want to make them feel wrong. So you're going to say, in order to do that, you want to be able to understand the methodology as well. So it's important to say that. So one way is to refer to what Hanif has done, which is to refer to an authority. And Norman Blakey is an authority in methodology. So you can refer to according to what Norman Blakey has written, explained in his book, right? So you want to use that. Okay. And note that Norman Blakey has actually argued that case study is not methodology. He is right there, because case study is just a method to bound what you want to study, to demarcate, to draw a line of the scope of your study, right? That's why it is a good method when your methods are not as strong. You use case study and then you put all your methods in the case study. So I usually would use case study to help, especially students who do not have a strong methodology. Case study is a good bucket to put the methods into. Right? Although there are books that say case study is a method, and in the case study method, but Norman Blakey has made a very good argument that case study is not a method. It's a method to encapsulate, to envelope, to contain other methods actually, right? So now that said, you want to be careful as well, that because some examiners, some lecturers, some professors believe it is a method. So we do not want to argue on branch issues. We want to argue on your thesis, right? Now going back to what Hanif has presented, let's go to research questions right now. Now let's look at this, Hanif. Okay, your research question: what types of multi-ethnic, multi-centric model that link with education facilities for children of okay, link education.
This research focus on education facilities, but the highlight of why education facilities I cannot see in the beginning. Why?
Oh, why?
Facilities.
Yeah, why they highlight that the significance or rationality of that?
No, education facilities is also no, facilities here also means institutions. It's
So
not like chair, not like
yeah,
table.
if
It's
I
an institution.
have read about education facilities, what do you mean about education facilities on your research?
Oh, okay. So I think I should change the
And then
facilities.
why it's very important?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Okay. So let's look at. We are going through one by one now, Hanif. Yeah. One by one. Now I'm looking at the first one. There's a good input from Joanne just now. Let's look by one. Joanne's point was about question number 2. Let's go at number. What types of multi-centric model that link with education facilities for children of Indonesian migrant workers in Sabah? Right.
This is also on your title, right?
Yeah, multi-centric model. Yeah. So
the facilities is on your title too.
Okay. Yeah.
is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Education facilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So the maybe the word is institution. Very good point there.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good point. Yeah.
Okay.
Very observant there. You can remember. Model. See. Let's. What types of see, what you want to do is actually to develop a multi-centric model
to discover the multicentric actors that involved in each of these institutions.
All right. So let's frame it in a way that would lead to the findings that you have here. So right now you say what type of so let's phrase it in a simple way first, and we see whether we can refine it. What type can we say what multi-centric model can explain the education institution?
If we use types, it means we will compare it.
We will have types. You are assuming that there will be types, which is fine, but let's not assume that first. What multi-centric model that can explain the education institution?
Itu dia
Apa tu? For the education institution of CLCs in Sabah, right?
CLC specific
Right?
and CLC.
Because go straight away, CLC in Sabah,
Because you have many types.
Yeah, many types already, So what type of multi-centric model sorry, not what type. Sorry, what multicentric model can explain, right? Can explain the education institution of CLC in Indonesian, what was it again? In CLC's, it's Indonesian, in CLC's in Sabah, right? Right. Okay, is that simple enough? Okay. Simple enough. We can fine tune it further, right? So why do some of these multicentric respond to provide? So okay, I'm not sure I understand this question.
Like to understand the functions of these institutions. Like I mentioned in additional codes, there are several functions. Like one is also of course to provide education facilities, but they are also to sustain their business and also to generate income. So these are what I assume in the second question. Yeah, second argument.
So what's the function?
Yeah, like it's like the function.
Okay. So I'm going to put in this question in so that you can work on it. What are the stakeholders? What are the stakeholders of the multicentric model? What are the stakeholders involved in the multicentric model, and what functions do they play? Right? What function do they play? Okay. Does that question answer the second question?
Stakeholders.
You want to know the motivation of the actors.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Like why they establish this.
So more on motivation, not the function.
You want to know the motivation?
Why
they
established the SLC?
But it is motivation and function is almost similar.
Motivation is come from.
It's different. So motivation, you're going into more psychological, social psychology, whereas function is that. So they come in, they help financially, they come in to help this, you come in here. So there is, you can see the functionality, and if you are actually constructing a structural functional kind of explanation to this thing, right? So we're going to use a functional approach.
I think if you use function, it's mean you would have to identify what's the rules on this institution, motivation.
We can go to the values. This can be the first question, right? So underneath that, you can talk about what are the value system driving this behaviors. And we can talk about that. Right? Maybe you want to assess that too, right? Right? What are the values? So underneath question number 2, you can have a sub question. What are the values? You can use different words for it. What are the drivers, right? And then, so when you say, so if you go to the idea of what are the stakeholders and their function and their behaviors. If I may, right now, let's go. You want to do this? You want to do this? So that my sound is captured.
Oh yeah.
I want to capture this sound. So we have here what are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Right? Who are the stakeholders? Right. The thing is I cannot see from there far. So right. Who are the stakeholders involved? And what functions is good? So I'm thinking that stakeholders function here. assume is functional, right? I'm thinking about the idea of what do they do, you know? What do they do? What do they do there? So think about that. Who are the stakeholders involved, and what are the behaviors in behaviors? You can use different word behaviors. See, I can say contribution, but not all stakeholders contribute. Police might not contribute. Right? Police might come in and hinder the whole process, right? Right, yeah, but they're stakeholders as well. Government can come in and help. Government can come in and hinder as well, right? So you want to use a different word than function. Then you can use who are the stakeholders involved, and what are the
rules? You
can use roles, I guess. For lack of a better word, you can use roles, right? The role can be a negative role, positive role, right? In the construction of this multi-centric model of CSC, yeah? In the construction of this model of CSC, Okay. Right. Alright. What are the values drivers behind the establishment? You can make another sub. Here. B, make a sub, right? What are the roles of the stakeholders in the establishment of the CLCs? What are the roles of the stakeholders in maintaining the CLCs? It's two different roles there, right? So even the values, the drivers are also different, right? So even the migrant workers, when they start first, when they merantau, they have different motivation values. But once they start merantau, they're being there to be there to continue. They develop different value systems. So this so you can say what are the roles of the maintaining. So you can play around with this idea a bit. So the values and also might also be corresponding to the formulation and maintenance, right? It's two different parts there, right? So the funders might come in to fund and they stop funding, for instance.
Yeah, they don't maintain.
They don't maintain, or they might not, right? But they might give initial money, and then you guys maintain it. It might be like that. I don't know. So you can see how it goes. So that is. So we have these two questions now, right? So let's go. You can further develop A, B, C. Go ahead. Right? You can develop A, B, C. So basically that is under that. So construction and maintenance of. Construction and maintenance. Construction and maintenance. By the way, there are actually four processes. The construction, the maintenance, the transformation, the destruction, or that's four. But let's maintain it. because the four, but but you can eventually you can see one is maintained, but then there's also transformation of the institution, right? There's also that, but you can play around with it later on. So let's go to the third one. How significant is the existence of multicentric model in explaining? I think that's.
I don't know what.
You don't need this. Then you don't need this. Of course, it'd be significant to explain because this is the explanation, right? So you don't need the third question. Two questions enough. Unless you have a third question you want to ask. Unless you want to ask. So if you think about it, the second question you can split it into a third question. One is about establishment. The other one is about maintenance.
Okay.
So establishment and post-establishment. You can say that, and then you can talk about the phases post-establishment. So post-establishment can be about maintenance, transformation, destruction. So there are two phases there. And sometimes people assume about perantau and migrant workers, they think that the motivation for them to come is the same motivation for them to stay.
Yeah.
It's the same motivation, no, it doesn't work that way, right? I remember was with urban sociologist, a big name urban sociologist. So I wrote a piece about migrant workers, and this was my master's degree by the way, about the push and pull factors and habitats. He gave me a very simple answer. Riff, sometimes people come for the glittering lights. They just come to the city, the youngsters come to cities because they like the lights. The dunia gemerlapan itu, apa ya bahasa Indonesia, apa is it? Apa ya, there's a,
Ya gemerlap juga.
apa ya, there's a term for it. Dugem.
Oh, juga.
Dugem.
Dunia kegemilapan, betul. Thank you, Bizarro. So they basically come to the city for the lights, the city lights.
Yeah.
Right, the glamour of the city, right? So simple explanation, betul. I come up with the analysis of push factor, pull factors. I was a young, right? This analysis. Well, these youngsters came just because of the city lights, the glamour of the city. Right? It can be from Medan to Jakarta or from Siantar to Penang. It's the attraction to go to the, this life that is outside of the kampung or the outside of the village, right? So you could have three there. Now I'm asking you, is this what you want to do? That's the question you want to answer, right? So if you can develop research and the findings is strong towards that, then you can. So you are actually testing this multi-centric model of CLC, right? So you're testing that. Okay, right? So the third question is about post-establishment, but the second question is about the establishment. The first question is, forgot what the first question now is. What type of what multi-centric model can explain the education institutions? Right. All right. Yes. Okay. So.
Prof. Maybe we need to know first about the value and the rules and the process of CLC's transformation, and then we, after that, can construct the model.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
It means the number urutan rumusan masalah ini harusnya nomor 2 dulu baru ke 1 kan? Because if you want to construct a model, we have to know the process of development of the institution.
Okay. So all right. Here we have a different types of model, right? So one is a model where Hanif wants to describe as kind of a static, not static, but more like a snapshot of the model. I think that's what Hanif wants to do. What does model looks like? You're talking about the evolutionary model, the developmental model of CLC. That would be a different model. That's what you're saying, right? The transformation of CLC. So that can be a different model by itself. So that's how to say that if you want to do a developmental model of CLCs.
You want to construct house model,
so that's
or you want to have model and challenge it.
So I have the model.
Yeah, he wants to test. He wants to create a model. It's creating a model which is not there yet.
So the question, how you can create the model, what data you need and you use, it will be depend on your method also.
The model is like the multi-subject model is based on the assumptions and based on the existing literature review. So also the theories that I apply. So it's not that I develop the model after I collect the data. So I developed first the model before I collected the data.
So
It's
how
a
you
different.
how the process of developing model also have to facing in your research method process?
Oh no. The methodology is to collect the data. That one is to testify my model.
Yeah.
So it's a different. If I include developing the model in the methodology, that means I
No develop, just construct.
yeah, to construct the model. Then this is not deductive research; it's inductive research. So
Good answer. There's the answer there.
If you have a model and then testing, how you can test? Because if in education, if we have a model, we have to construct from theory, from previous research, from basic data, and then we have to construct. We have the model. After that, when we want to testing the model, we will to make more specific instrument, we will to specific agent, subject, and then we can see is it the right model or not. So how you can testing the model if you use the more on the quantitative or case method.
Yeah, the first step of my research is I do the start list, the initial code. So I have my initial code here. As you can see here. So this is the initial code. So then I test this initial code by collecting the data from my research methodology.
What kind of data?
The data is the CLC. CLC is my sample, my
When
unit
you come
of
to
analysis.
CLC, what you do?
Yeah, that's my methods is I do the triangulation. I took the semi-structured interview and then also document analysis to collect this data. Then, based on the data, the samples that I collected, then I refer back to the initial codes and I compare the findings and also the initial codes whether it match or there's a huge difference or there's additional codes categories that I can add in the model.
Okay. Maybe you will find the difficulties when you explain or you transform your model to your informant. It is not easy because your informant also have to know what the model is. It model or how your informant have to know about the model first, and then you can testing or.
Yeah, but my interview questions will not be totally exactly the same as my initial course, but I will use different way of questioning, different terms, so that it's not directly.
It's your challenging process.
Yeah, it's
or
a
your,
very.
yeah, you have to rethinking about the model and your process of research because it will be difficult, I think. If you try to construct first and then you testing.
Yeah.
As in education, I also have this research model, but more on education learning process. If I want to testing, this is the model right or not? I can use construct testing, or I applying and then I look how is it okay or not, or and then we can have conclusion. Oh, this model is right, this model effective, or this model enough or not.
You're talking like action research, man.
Yeah.
Action
If
research.
you have a model and then testing, you maybe will go to the action research or more on developing research. You
Okay.
not go to there, right?
And this is where you can understand methodology. I know the distinction here, but I want you to be able to answer. Right. So Joanne is coming from educational
Yeah,
paradigm.
I come from education
So
background.
educational paradigm is very similar to the experimental paradigm.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a treatment model. So before you do not know, you're not good at math, right? So you do this formula, right? Follow this method called the Baghdadi method, or the cognitive method, or the emotional conditioning method. Let me test this method, and you see, oh, then you're good at math.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Hanif is not doing that. Hanif is not doing that.
Not
Hanif has this theory. Hanif has this theory about a model. You just want to test the model. When you test the model, it's not about whether the model is working. Can model explain the phenomenon? That's all. That's the difference. Can the model explain the phenomenon?
Explain the phenomenon.
That's
the
it.
question is how it can be objective, or this is right, really can explain it or not. How you validity or something, the process.
So this is also a difference between the psychological method and the sociological method. So the psychological method, when you got to defend this, right? You got to defend this. So you know, in there they have the construct validity, the reliability test, and all that. And so you got to show in sociology, what do we do?
About the validity.
So what do we do? Sociology, what do we do? You understand me? So what's the term you use for sociology?
Triangulation.
Triangulation.
There's another term.
Yeah.
But the item is how you use
Conceptual saturation.
Concept.
Saturation point. Right. This is where the psychologists do not understand the sociologists. This is where the quantitative do not understand the qualitative. Right? We must understand both in order to defend. Right? Saturation point is where you keep on asking, you basically get the same answer. Right? Then you actually said that just now. You actually said that in your testing. If I have enough, I do not have to do more.
Yeah.
That's called saturation point. Right? In qualitative research. Saturation. Conceptual saturation. Yeah.
Saturation tu seringnya.
Kekerapan.
Ketepuan.
Tekun.
Tepu ya. Tepu kalau bahasa Malaysia tepu lah. So you keep on putting the sugar up to one point, the water can absorb anymore. That's called saturation point. So any more qualitative data you collect, it doesn't change the patterns anymore. So up to one point, you get a pattern to explain. That is the saturation point, right?
Not only saturation, but also how you transform your model to the question that make your informant understand what all you mean. It will be your other obstacles. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
You have also have more strategic process. Transform the model to the question, and your informant understand what I mean. Connect.
Yeah. So that's something about deductive. You got to do deductive. Deductive is where the model, you have the hypothesis, something like that. You have the variables under the model, and then you collect. Yeah, right. Remember, you're basically doing the deductive, inductive, right? Hanif?
Yeah.
Am I right? Are you doing the opposite? Doing the opposite meaning inductive, and then the inductive is different. Inductive is like open and say just ask, and then you construct a model at the end. Right? Here is when you're testing a model. Deductive.
Why have testing? Why not constructing from the ground?
That's different.
Yeah, that's also
It's a valid question. And why do you want to go deductive instead of inductive? So you're actually doing a deductive instead of the inductive there.
Yeah.
Right? So why do you want to do that?
Yeah, because the previous research they conducted more towards inductive research, but not many studies conducted deductive, especially in this issue of CLC.
If you have this argumentation, you have to highlight it on your gap, research gap, or literature gap, or method gap, or background gap. So
let's continue so that we can cover the point here, and then also your presentation afterwards. Now, this is relevant to certain things I want to highlight as far as my feedback for you is concerned, Hanidia. Um, can you hear me? Is it recorded? Alright. So you do not want to, when you talk about sampling just now, you're talking about tawa and all that. Avoid the idea of convenience as justification for your sampling. So you do not want to use convenience because tawa is closer, because it's cheaper, more expensive. You do not want to give that because that's not methodological explanation for sampling, right? Sampling doesn't follow convenience as a logic. So you want to give a different justification. Come up with something different. Right? Don't not say convenience, right? So something about tawa, something about but you already have like 4, 3 there, right? 4 and 4 there, right? So you come up with a different reason. Alright. The other one you said triangulation. Okay, I personally don't prescribe. I do not prescribe triangulation because even if you read Norman Blakey, triangulation is actually different methods, different research, trying to arrive at the same conclusion, but oftentimes does not necessarily lead to the same conclusion, right? But it's okay. But there are people who want to do triangulation. I do not subscribe to that. I do not prescribe that. Why? Let's look at the more methodological justification. So when you're going to do interview, right? You're going to do interview, right? Okay. But then you also say you want to do observation. You also say you want to do a document analysis, right? So when you say observation, there's a method to observation. So observation, there must be a sampling of observation that is also randomized or systematic, right? So you observe at 7 o'clock, example. The other group you must observe at 7 o'clock, same time. If you observe the meeting, you must observe the meeting as well. So there must be a method to observation. It's not ad hoc. It's not as and when. And what is it that you're observing? So when we talk about observing, you're talking about making field notes. You're talking about what is it you're observing, right? Okay. And here we go again about methodology, right? If you're talking about ethnography, ethnography use a lot of observation, participant and non-participant observation, right? But the process is not field notes necessarily, that they go home and do reflection and all that, right? But you're not doing ethnography, right? You're not doing ethnography, right? So you want to be careful. If you want to do observation, you can. Dr. Wong Teng Ak did observation of the wet market, that he goes at a certain time, certain place, so it's still purposive observation. There must be a method to the observation. So you must qualify what you're observing, what particular activity or group or time or whatever. There must be a method to that, right? So I'm not saying that you should not observe. I'm saying that if you observe, there must be a method to the observation, and it must be justification. There's a methodology to observation too, and there's 2 types of observation: of participant or non-participant observation, right? Document analysis. So the same goes for document analysis. What type of document you want to analyze? If you get that document from this group, from this sample, you must get the same from the other sample, right? So it's not haphazard, it's systematic, yeah? So I'm not saying that you cannot, but I'm saying that after masters and PhD you can do whatever you want and then justify things and tell stories and all that, right? But for masters and PhD, the whole idea is for you to win during Viva. You don't want to open for space for any attack that come in, right? So if you want to use any of this, make sure methodologically it's sound. Right? So document analysis, what document do you want to analyze? So are you looking at the establishment documents? So some have certain establishment documents, some do not have establishment documents. What is it, for instance? Or you want to look at the meeting minutes, right? For document analysis, you're looking at or annual reports, right? Are you looking at journals and diaries? Are you looking at that as well? So these are relevant issues when we talk about document analysis. Or you using newspapers, which is a different kind of document analysis. So document analysis is wide and broad and deep, and it cut across public and organization and personal. So my take on this one is that if since you are doing masters, if you do not you are not sure, stick to interviews. You can open up space for document analysis later on, right? What am I saying? You do not put it in your presentation, but you still can collect. So when you can collect it in a systematic way, you can include it in your write-up later on. If you cannot, you do not want to promise this as something there, right? Now, there's some schools, some fields that are much more flexible, anything goes, international relations tend to be much more flexible in that sense, right? But since you're doing this, you want to be careful in this one. So international relations, sometimes they interview 2 or 3 diplomats, they look at newspaper cuttings, they look, something like that. You can construct reality based on that. It's okay. But here we want to succeed for your master, so you want to be more systematic, and you are using sociological liberalism, which I'm going to talk about later on. Okay, that is the research methodology. Now, going back to the research methodology, which is your initial code. So let's look at your initial codes. All right. This relates to what Joanne was talking about just now, and relate to what I want to discuss with you. So, for deductive research, right, what will help instead of calling it the initial course, you call it conceptual framework. What is your conceptual framework? So you're right, conceptual framework can come from different theories, right? You can put together different theories and construct a conceptual framework. You can do that, right? So your conceptual framework will consist of theoretical inputs or conceptual inputs from various theories or write-ups and studies and literature. You can do that, right? And you will justify why do I put in this variable or this part in this multi-centric analysis. So you have this is from this person or this theory, this is from this study or this literature, put together, right? But you got to give justification to your conceptual framework. Why do you put all this, right? And then, where is the novelty or originality of your research? Are you just compiling and synthesizing different parts, or is it something additional variable or dimension to your research as well, right? So, I would. So by the way, I cannot really see this one. Right? You can enlarge that. I'm not sure I can see that. Larger. Okay. Okay, larger. Bigger.
It's lagging.
Huh?
Lagging a little bit.
Lagging a bit, okay. Alright. So,
I also have a question about this.
So, here, so we are talking multicentric, right? Right? So, multicentric implies a center somewhere, right? Or multiple centers. So, I'm thinking non-government NGOs is one center, am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kan? So, religious entity is another center, am I right? So, community association is another center, right?
It's whatever actors beyond state, beyond government.
Okay.
Any actors
Alright,
beyond
okay.
that is okay.
So the question I'll be asking to you, right? Where is the multicentric actor? Where is some multicentric model? So, so you do have these three, right?
Yeah.
But you also have other aspects of this multicentric
There
actor.
should be more, yeah.
There should be more. So
Yeah.
the government should be part of it, because government comes in, right? You do not want to eliminate government as part of this multicentric model, right? Because they come in, right, Hanif?
Multicentric.
Betul kan? How could government not be part of this? Because they are going to certify the CLC. They are going to send the teachers.
Okay.
Am I right?
Yes.
So multicentric meaning the whole explanation about the establishment and the continuation, meaning maintenance of the phenomena of CLC, consists of multiple centers that coming together, right? So there's the institutional, non-state and state actors. There can also be non-institutional, non-state actors, namely the immigrants themselves, namely maybe the locals, maybe some philanthropies, right? Maybe there's some philanthropies or volunteers, right? So this multi-centric model of CLC consists of, I can see 4 parts to that, or 3 parts to this. One is the state actors. State actors will consist of Indonesian state actors and Malaysian state actors. And then Malaysian state actors, you can split it into 2 as well. One is the federal, the other one is state, right? Meaning state, meaning Sabah state lah, right? And then we have the non-state actors, which are those NGOs, religious entities, and community associations, as well as very important actor here, the companies.
Yeah, plantation.
The plantation, the companies themselves, right? And then we have the individual non-state actors, right? Who are the individual non-state actors? You've got to identify the immigrant, immigrant workers themselves, maybe the family of immigrant workers, right? Because they are volunteer, maybe the wife or the husband or the son or the cousin or whatever, right? So that forms part of the individual actors, right? So maybe locals as well, I don't know, right? Maybe the ketua kampung or village or whatever lah, you know. So this will enrich your model. This is the one that makes your model powerful, right? So your model is actually, you go back to this one, right? Go back to this one, so that you capture my voice, right? Go back to this one. So you could have like 4 different quadrants, right? The state and the non-state, right? The state will be local and Malaysian, right? Or a host and home, right? Home state actor, which is, and there are many too. They're not just one, right? There's also the ministry, betul kan? And also the embassy, right? You want to define that as a state actor because you want to make the distinction clearer. Because sometimes the one that's facilitating is the embassy, right? Or the KJRE, right? And the KJRE, right? So make it known. And then we have the host state actors, the federal government, the Sabah government, or maybe whatever government there, right? So that is the state actors, right? And then we have the non-state actors, the NGOs, the religious entities, the community associations, maybe the labor unions, if there's such, I don't know, alright? Right? Also the companies, very important. Plantation companies, right? Sometimes also local companies, I don't know, maybe local companies say, oh, okay, use my space here, go ahead. I volunteer my space here.
Church.
So the church is a religious entity here, right? So you want to be able to enrich your model because it's multi-centric. And then the non-state actors, the local, as well as so you have actually 4 quadrants there. 4 quadrants there, right? Now you're developing a more sophisticated multi-centric model. And then you see what role do they play in the formulation or the establishment of the CLCs, and what role do they play in the maintenance of it, right? But in the role, there can also be, by the way, the state actors, the host state actors includes the enforcement, the law enforcement agencies, the police, don't forget them as well. And you will tell you that police kan tutup sebelah mata kan, tutup sebelah mata. I understand lah, police center, and then the whatever lah itu kan, sebelah mata. There's also the abang emir. That's the term they use over here. Emir is immigration. Abang Emir.
First time here.
First time here. telling you a secret there. So whenever you hear factory workers, Indonesian factory workers, ni ada Abang Emir ni, immigration officer here, right? So immigration is another sub-state actors, right? Sub-state actors. Sometimes they facilitate. So the beauty of corruption sometimes, bribery. And sometimes they contrast in Indonesian Malaysian corruption. So Malaysian corruption, when you give money, it lubricates the system. Right? Seperti minyak melancarkan mesinnya, it lubricates the system. So there's if you give money to the police, and then there's whole symbolic interaction to it. They give money and money. There's a way of giving money. You don't violate the way of giving money. You don't just give throw money like that. Right? You get into bigger trouble. There's whole symbolic and they give money and they say, okay, be careful. Over there, there's another roadblock. They will help you, right? So likewise, when you give money, it facilitates it. A 2-year project becomes 2 months project. Now, a dysfunctional corruption system is that if you give money here, over there you gotta give money some more. Over there you gotta give money more, right? Like my friend from US told me, he experienced that in Bali, right? You have to pay some more. That's not how corruption should work. It's a dysfunctional corruption system. You want to have a corruption system that works. Remember, this functionalist theory, right? Functionalist theory says all behaviors has function, right? Including prostitution, including whatever. There's function to human behaviors, right? So, anyways, I'm digressing a bit, but to the point that I want to highlight is the role can be a negative role, it can be a positive role, legal, illegal, right? The illegal can be positive too, by the way, positive there, right? So they check, check the, okay, right, they can close one eye. It's an illegal thing, alright? But to them it's ethical because they're just teaching kids, right? It's a good thing. So there's illegal, unethical. So you can have that discussion in your analysis later on, right? So when is the Abang Emir a good person or Abang Emir is not a good person, They use their budi bicara, right? The discretion to use. Is it ethics? It's not ethical. And this whole dynamic of the Nusantara thing at work, the serumpun thing at work. One of my students, I remember he bumped into, I think, the host in Sabah, and suddenly they found out that there's Malaysian Javanese people. They start talking about Java. Oh, kita Sabtu pakai Javanese. So this is the whole dynamics become very more organic, not just if you go with the whole idea is procedural, step by step. So multi-centric model we explain is organic. It's not procedural, step by step. So you can talk about different manifestation of this multi-centric model, and that is where it becomes original, right? So you have that.
Actually, I have one.
Go ahead.
This one. You use before colonialization, during colonialization, and post-colonialization. This is the framework. It is not framework, right?
That's not framework.
This is dynamic.
It's not conceptual framework. You're right. Thank you, Joanne. Yeah.
This is a dynamic process.
Just explaining it before.
Do you also want to connecting how the dynamic relationship, political condition between Indonesia and Malaysia on the time with the facilities or process to developing education facilities in Sabah? Because sometimes political climate between countries also will impact it to the diplomatic process, and this is also a diplomatic part of diplomatic point is education in this research.
That's why Malaysia doesn't recognize it.
Yeah.
Because Malaysia cannot recognize it because it has a ministry prescription of what is an education institution.
Yeah,
So
because
that's why
you're,
they close one eye, close two eyes, not close eyes sometimes. Right. So the point that Joanne raised is very relevant. So that should not be part of the model there. That's just a kind of a precursor to the context of this whole thing, you know, not. But you can bring it in your discussion later, right? It's just historical background, right, Ane?
Yeah, what I mean is I just want to categorize the perantau, which category are they from, this category, that category, or that
yeah,
category.
I think it's better on background or latar belakang ya, daripada kamu tulis di theoretical framework. Framework ngomongin tadi yang Prof katakan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how people use previous research maybe use
to explain the history, right? So the word they want to use, keyword you want to use now is conceptual framework instead of initial codes, right? Enlarge it. Another word that you use actually was evolutionize. Right? There's no such word. Evolve.
Oh,
evolve. There's evolve, right? Okay, there's another one to that. It's evolutionize. Like documentize. Document is a verb too, right? So evolve. So the people evolve, the CSE evolve, you know. The other one is tangan panjang. So tangan panjang in Malaysia, tangan panjang it has a different meaning, right? I told you this one before, right?
Huh?
Tangan panjang so orang suka mencuri.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Turun tangan beza, turun tangan, ya itu beza. Tapi I don't know lah, maybe in Indonesia tangan panjang maksudnya
kepanjangan tangan.
What's that? Okay.
In Malaysia tangan panjang, itu tangan panjang meaning he likes to steal.
Okay.
Long hand meaning they like to steal.
There are two terms in Indonesia, bro.
Huh? Yeah.
Indonesia
So I don't know whether you want to use that term ke apa ke, silakanlah, but you got to explain. Because tangan panjang is like they're reaching out like that, right? So, and the last but not least, before we go to Joanne's presentation, the idea of sociological liberalism. So, I'm not sure it's obvious where you connect or explain the term sociological liberalism vis-a-vis your multi-centric model. You got to make it obvious.
Oh yeah.
It has to do with state and non-state actors. Understand that, right? So make it obvious, right? So it wasn't obvious. It's like you explain it at the beginning, but the conceptual framework doesn't matter. So sociological liberalism has to do with the non-state actors more, right? So your conceptual framework will talk about not just the state actors, but also the non-state actors, but also the interaction of the state and non-state actors between the host and the home country, right? And the dynamics of this whole multi-centric model. Right? I think that is something to explain. So, final one, you want to decide, right? Final decision, Hanif, you want to decide is this: whether you want to do inductive or whether you do deductive, right? The choice is yours. But when you do deductive, meaning you develop the model first, and then you find out whether this model can explain what happened, right? But you got to justify what this model is. If you do inductive, you're collecting the data. You could also so the model has not been developed yet, but you can have sensitizing concepts. So this is the qualitative research or phenomenology sensitization. You can say, are there religious people that come here? This is ada religious people from the church come in, or the masjid come in, right? They're the people or the actual church or the actual masjid. And or the religion has two parts to it. So you can do that, right? So you can develop from bottom up. You can do that as well. So, but I'm not asking you to do this or the other one, but you will need to be able to explain whether you're doing deductive or inductive, right? you're not really doing sequential. You're not doing sequential.
But I thought during collecting data, that's the time where we do the inductive.
No, not necessarily. Okay.
Because
So here where it is, right? Sequential means there's qualitative and quantitative.
oh,
So it's a mixed mode. So when you for instance, you collect the data inductively. Collect the data inductively, right? So you have open-ended question, which tend to be qualitative usually, right? Yeah, and then they get all the people, like they say, and you identify 30 variables from there or 30 themes from there, right? These are coming from the people themselves, right? So inductive, right? Inductive. And then from the themes, you construct a model, right? You construct a model, and then you test the model using quantitative method by doing strongly agree, disagree, and all that, right? Then qualitative combined with quantitative, that becomes a sequential. But if you're doing only one part, it's just deductive or inductive, which is sufficient, by the way, which is a lot already, right? Which is a lot already, so you don't have to do the other one if you do not want to. But you can do sequential. Sequential has two types also: exploratory or explanatory, right? Exploratory is when you start with the qualitative first, right? Explore what are the variables, what are the themes, and you don't use the word variables, right? Only variables when you develop the quantitative part. You start, what are the relevant themes, how do they explain this whole thing, you know, whatever lah, and then you collect the data, and then you test it. So you explore, right? Whereas explanatory, you switch it. Right? You have the quantitative, you want to explain the quantitative, so it's qualitative to explain the quantitative. So it's opposite of that. So that's sequential, right? Okay, Hanif? Right, I think there's something here. You have something very substantive here, something I think original, something will be very exciting to understand, I think. Right? We'll take a 1 minute break. It's 11:25 right now. So 11:30 latest we'll have Joanne's presentation. Anyone else want to share your thoughts? Please do. Maybe Pizarro, or maybe Liye, or maybe Lanbin, or Kailai, Achang, Chelsea, you're here too. Okay, Marizaga, you have some thoughts. Go ahead. We have. Who else is here?
Yufeng.
Oh, Yufeng. You have Hanchen wanted to present today too, but then because the time is short today, who else is there? Jane, is that Jane?
Yeah.
And Jane is here too. Is that Jane?
Yeah, Jane.
Okay. Raji is here too.
Why are you online, Raji?
Raji.
Hey! Why you don't come here?
By the way, where's Eugene?
I don't know, bro. Lu ada agenda sendiri lu. Ada udah siap agenda sekali lu.
Kok nggak bilang tahu kan?
Hah?
Kok nggak gede? Apa kepotong?
Ini ada nanti kalau di
Kepotong udah tadi.
enggak ya. Nah,
If you use the step water, we make sure turn on for the rust to be drained out first. It's apa ni, karat itu, karat ni apa namanya? Karatan ya, the rusty.
Saya duduk atau berdiri?
Huh?
Your choice.
Up to you, terserah aja. But then you can.
Because I also did this.
Okay, it's close to that one there. Okay.
Dah.
Yeah. Jembatan.
Ya, pas.
Sudah.
Ya, sudah.
Mulai ya, Prof.
Ya, silakan.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is my first time to present my research proposal. Actually, this is still on the stack of research problem. My topic of my dissertation is about, main topic is quality of education, and my tentative title is morphogenesis of students from non-educational program facing the pre-service teacher professional education, and the case in the education sociology Universitas Negeri Malang. Next slide. We have many ways to generate a research topic. I start this topic from my personal experience because I have experience teaching about the pre-service teacher program, and based on my experience, there are different quality between education and non-education students' background from this program. So I try to develop this experience through this process. I have to make sure that this research can be researchable. So I have to review the literature. So far, I reviewed the policy of this program, what's the socialization about this program, and identify the initial subject and drafting the initial question. So this is my current position. I still drafting an initial question for this research. After that, I will try to more in review literature until finding the gap and construct the research purpose strongly. Okay, next. This is overview about my background. I use PISA result to show why this research important based on the evaluation from international evaluation program PISA, and also show what's the recommendation from the last report in 2018, and then I want to show why this topic also important from the history about the teacher quality and quantity in Indonesia, the dynamic of research professional education, teacher professional education program, and also other issue about the education program graduates and non-educational graduates, especially sociology, why mass sociology, and why I use East Java as battleground of sociology and the PPG program or pre-service teacher program in Universitas Negeri Malang. After that, I argue how but use the research question to show why I use morphogenesis process. First, I use data from Program International Student Assessment report in 2018. This program is very important because a lot of countries use PISA as evaluation report each 3 years, and usually also our government in Indonesia, our educational ministry, use this report to produce many policy, also on their strategic plan. So I look what the PISA says in the 2018. So I start with the achievement first. The achievement in 2018, Indonesia can increase the budget allocation 20% for education, and also Indonesia success increase access for education, because this sampling is student with 15 years old, from 2000 by 39% to be 85% in 2018. And ratio teacher and maintenance for student and teacher ratio 15 years established from one teacher for 17 students, and also Indonesia success reduce the size of class from 30 to 14 become 31 to 35. And next slide. But however, even though the budgeting ratio and access learning have become more expansive, the student competency in reading, mathematics and science in Indonesia need more improvement, because if we look this data, Indonesia position actually as a global always on 10 bottom position since 2000 to 2018. And last report in 2018, we show that the result is not good from the previous report to in the 2015 decrease. And also, if we look the reading in 2018, the score is same with report in 2000. So this is very dangerous, because even though the national literacy movement was held in 2016, the result of reading Indonesian students is not sufficient. Other report from Innovasi program show that for the numeracy aspect, student and teacher Indonesia still think that mathematics is difficult subject, and many teacher in Indonesia not confident to teach mathematics. Other finding also from PISA 2018 showed that student Indonesia fail continue to the next grade. 2/3 of them are boys from low economic background, and other findings show that 4 of 10 students in Indonesia have experienced bullying and risk for skipping the school. Next. So and then mapping what's the main problem of PISA result in 2018 and their recommendation. From the PISA report, there are 3 main problems that have to maintain currently. There are first issues about the problem, the large percentage of low achievement students, and then the second problem is the high percentage of students repeating the class, and the third problem is the high number of students absent from the class. Actually, PISA not only reporting about the literacy, numeracy, and science, but also evaluating the education policy, education environment. So the recommendation also not only about the literacy, numeracy actually. But if we look at the recommendation from the macro meso level, I'm mapping it. The macro level, Indonesia have to increase the access, transparency, and funding. And also in the meso level, school management. And the main important to solve the 3 main problems is about the teaching and learning. So Indonesia have to improve the teaching quality and quantity through pre-service teacher program, mentoring, networking, and also continuity. And why I use this topic and focus on teacher, because this is the main problem. If we want to increase the quality of education, we have to increase the teacher first. After that, the next. Actually, Indonesia was trying to increase the teacher quality because if we look at from the history of the recruitment of standard in Indonesia, teacher in Indonesia from beginning of independence, qualification is only from junior high school, and then increase become a senior high school, and then increase after the law number 14 of 2005, increase become qualification is bachelor. So previously we still have more teacher with non-bachelor background. Okay, but after the law, the standard is increasing, become must be bachelor and also have professional certificate. Okay, and actually Indonesia has experienced transforming about accelerating, increasing the teacher professional or teacher with certificate professional through a pre-service teacher professional education program from 2007 to 2021. I cannot share the mapping because the data is in here. A lot of scholarship give to the PPG program or pre-service teacher professional program, but many studies show that this is unsuccessful to fulfilling the demand of professional teacher, because many studies show that the problem are about the placement after program professional, and also about the motivation. Most of teachers want to be a civil servant, where the formation for the civil servant a lot of in the villages, but the placement, but also and also about the low of salary from the teacher. Next.
Low salary.
Low salary. And then in the, even though if we look at the survey PISA from 2018 showed adequate about the ratio of student and teacher in Indonesia in 2018, in the reality in the 2021 Indonesia still need more teacher. We look at the data in the blue one, the formation open for the civil servant with agreement about 5,100 teachers, but the teachers can pass this selection only 219,000. Now, and then in the 2022, we look that there are retired teacher will retire in 2023 is about 7,500, and our government open formation about 319 formation, but only 78 teacher can pass the selection, and also the retired teacher in 2023 is about 6,100 teacher, and the formation open about 300,000, and we will still waiting about the result in the 2023. This data show indication that the number of people of retired and formation and also the past selection is not coherent. Next. It makes accumulation and then make an issues. In 2024, Indonesia will need more teacher crisis, teacher shortage about 1.3 million teacher. So the issue of number and quality of teacher in Indonesia is very important and unfinished homework from our government. And however, next slide, actually, to fulfill the teacher in 2012, 7 students from several universities with education study program background sued the Constitutional Court about new law, our law in number 14 of 2005 concerning teacher and lecturers. They asked the Constitutional Court to review this article so that teaching profession is only intended for teachers and education science graduate, not for non-education graduate. They argued that the graduates from non-educational program only need 1 semester for matriculation and pedagogical knowledge. Meanwhile, the educational program must take all those courses with 2 to 3 semesters. However, despite the Constitutional Court rejecting the law suite, the number of teachers in Indonesia still not be met, and the quality teachers in Indonesia itself needs to be improvement. Next. Yeah. Actually, the graduate education program of teacher training institution, or we call it as LPTK, Lembaga Pendidikan Tenaga Kependidikan, is huge and enormous. In 2005, the number of LPTK only 60 and increased until more than 400. And the number of education study program in Indonesia is more than 6,000. And the college also actually have more than 1 million. But after graduation, they have to go through national selection, become a candidate for pre-service teacher professional education. Because our new standard, our new law, that the teacher must be a professional. So bachelor is not enough. They have to continue for the professional education. There are administrative, substantive tests, interview tests, and also complete the interview selection to get the professional education, because it only held from our government. They have to pass the national selection. And in 2020, next slide. In 2023, our government developed new model to fulfill the number of teacher and also increase the quality. In 2023, teacher formation opened about 296,000, around 200,000 will be prioritized for honorary or contract teachers, and about 69,000 will be prioritized for graduate from pre-service teacher professional education. It means that graduate from pre-service teacher education have red carpet. They will automatically pass the selection, become the civil servant. So this strategy become a magnetic for the graduate with educational or non-educational background. Many people will struggle to become a teacher. Next slide. On the other hand, there is another issue that sociology. Why I focus on sociology. Based on, there are many issues show that sociology low applicant and regrettable program. From this news, we look at Gajah Mada and UE, but sociology include the law applicant. Okay. And also many issues about the sociology is one of program regrettable by this newspaper. Yeah, it means that competition between education and non-education become more an issue because many program is become low applicant, and other issue is regrettable.
What's the first one? Journalism or what?
Journalism, yeah. Journalism.
Journalism. Oh, well, that's bad.
The non-education sociology graduate will think that pre-service program is an opportunity, but education graduate will think it will increase the competition. On the other hand, next. Okay. Why I and then choose the sociology and from non-educational background is because of that issue. It will the opportunity, but on the other hand, become a teacher is not easy because we have to three skills: technological, content knowledge, and also pedagogical knowledge. Pedagogical knowledge is not have in the sociology, pure sociology graduate. They not learn about the pedagogical, the teaching and learning, so it will become obstacles from them to get the pre-service teacher program, especially for sociology subject. Next. And also why I choose the location in East Java, especially in sociology education, Universitas Negeri Malang, because pre-service teacher professional for education subject only provide in education sociology Universitas Negeri Malang, and meanwhile a sociology program in East Java is quite a lot, like Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Universitas Jember, Universitas Trunojoyo, and other university that provide pure sociology will more struggle to get this program, while the process have to pass the national examination. After that, they will take the pre-service program in sociology education Universitas Negeri Malang. So I will focus on non-education study program for sociology subject and analyze the morphogenesis process of their experience to become a teacher. The morphogenesis concept I use from Margaret Archer to show the process of from the start and the process and the output the graduates from this program. The morphogenesis is a biological concept to show the metamorphosis process. So I analogical these graduates will take the morphogenesis or metamorphosis process from this program. Next, and then I provide research question. The first is why students from non-educational study program join pre-service teacher professional education program for sociology subject. The assumption one is because they did not have educational course and most of them had minimum experience in teaching. Assumption two, because the pre-service program or PPG program did not provide matriculation program. And also the assumption three is most of the courses in the pre-service program need basic educational knowledge. It's not easy for them. So why they try to accompany this program? Then, how students from non-educational study program facing the process of pre-service teacher professional education program, especially in the sociology. My assumption is each topic in each course has smart steps, which means they will face many assignments in a short time that it will connect to the educational subject. And also assumption 2 is the assignment are designed to be more practical and preparing them to have enough skills and product to do teaching practical. And assumption 3 is the program is designed not only in class but also in school in each semester. It means they have limited time to practice more related teaching and learning. And then the last question is how students from non-educational study program continue their career after graduating from a pre-service teacher professional education program for sociology subject. Because the formation, my assumption is the formation of civil servant for P3K or contract is limited, and most of that is far from their home. And also assumption 2 is after graduation as professional teacher they can choose not only one sociology subject in senior high school but also social science in junior high schools, also elementary. And then assumption 3, teacher workload in Indonesia is very high. Minimum is 24 credits if you have a certificate professional per week, and it can be more than it because sociology teachers in school usually are limited. That's
Okay.
My presentation for progress. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alright, can we go straight to your research question? I'd like to address that. Okay, and before I go to these research questions, I want to know a couple of things just for presentation. Okay, is my voice okay? Yeah. You arrive at the research question at about 20 minutes or so after that, right? So, so you want to in the actual one, the actual presentation later on for research proposal, in where we have the committee and all that, you want to scale it down. Maybe the first 10 minutes or so you should be arriving to your research questions, right? So you want to adjust your presentation to that. So 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes, you arrive at the research questions. I mean the most 15 minutes, because after that you need to explain your methodology, right? So you need a bit of time to explain your methodology as well. So the time sometimes given for you is 20 minutes. Sometimes you can extend it, sometimes you cannot, depending on the chairperson of the committee, right? But safe is to target within 10-12 minutes you go right at your research questions. And okay, now I want to focus straight to your research questions. You're giving, but this is the first one, so it's good that you give a more thorough background to what you want to study. Yeah. So I can extend a bit more to, although it is complex, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So the problem is a complex problem. Yeah.
So actually, when I write in the background, it should be the problem like that, or only.
As long as you can explain it within the, so your research background, your introduction, it should be about 2 to 3 slides. also think about that. You've got to be very concise in explaining what the problem is, and then you go to the problem statement. You have a bit more time to explain the problem statement, maybe 1 or 2 more slides. So that is about the frame you have to work on explaining the background. It's not easy to explain the background when it comes to something that is very complex. So
I use the first picture.
You also talk about the kind of historical context too. So maybe you want to decide on how you want to begin and where you want to begin. The time, maybe not too far before that, maybe a bit earlier, or maybe a snapshot of the process of how you arrived, how education has arrived to this point, right? It's a complex problem. It's not easy. Even now, I still have certain questions about the what's the term again? There are 2 types. The pre-service. Is it pre-service? Pre-service, yes, pre-service. Yeah. Okay. Let's go straight to the core, the heart of your research, which is your research questions, which is the most important part. The research question will give you the compass to your whole research. First, this is the first research question: why students from non-educational study programs study pre-service teacher professional education program for sociology subject? Okay, non-educational study programs. Okay, we're talking about students who are not students or not education degree students, right? These are non-education degree students, right? Who take their undergraduate in non-educational study programs. So be clear about. So your assumption, they did not have educational courses, and most of them had minimum experience in teaching. Okay, assumption number 2, the pre-service PPG means
pre-service teacher professional program, or PPG.
Okay, pre-service teacher or professional program. Okay, the G, I don't know what that is, but it's okay. Program did not provide matriculation for the program. Okay, most of the courses in the pre-service PPG program need basic educational knowledge. All right. This is actually the heart of your research, right? You want to know why there. Okay. So when we ask the question why, there can be many explanations to this question. So a why question can go to the motivation to it, right? Or why question can be a structural explanation as well. So the causation can be the causes, the factors can be external. So not a motivation question, it can be, So perhaps you want to be able to qualify this research question and breaking into sub-question. You can have one question and then break it up to a second question. Meaning there's a external and there's also internal, or how you want to frame it. The way you want to get to your findings later on. So the sub question will help you to direct your methodology to get the type of data you want to get. Right? So you want to be clear about the why question. Why question is the hardest question to ask, by the way, right? And the other part to asking a why question is that you want to be clear that are you looking for causality here? Are you looking for correlation here? Are you just exploring the connection? So, instance, another way to phrase it is what factors, what are the drivers, underlying the choice, of non-educational study program, students of non-educational to choose, that kind of thing. So, And then the factors can, as I said, it can be structural, it can be demographics too, right? The type of students might explain it. So the normal gender, class, parents background, urban versus rural, that kind of thing. There can be also structure can be also about the opportunities, structural opportunities, or structural structural channels for them to go in, right? So certain channels are encouraged or discouraged, that kind of thing. So those are possible answers. So another way to phrase it is rephrase the why question into what question. So like Norman Blakey, he would actually many times he actually encouraged to rephrase a why question into what questions. And I actually subscribe to the same thinking where in the context of PhD research, it is safer to have a what question than a why question. Right? So, but you will want to decide on your own, what is the research that you want to have. So sometimes a very good set of what question can lead to the why. You know what I'm saying? So when you have the various factors to explain a particular decision, how a particular decision is arrived at, right, you can construct the why out of the what. So when you have many factors, you can arrive at the why too. So that's another way to explain a why question. But you decide whether you want to do that or not. If you still maintain a why, then you want to have the sub questions underneath it. So so eventually, see, when I do supervision, or as much as possible, I think about the success, your success in the viva itself. So to make sure that in the viva, your findings can answer the research question. So the why question sometimes is risky when it opens up for other spaces of explanation that is not in the findings. So a why question with the sub questions would help to say, look, I've answered this. These are my findings. They answer my sub questions, and the way I contextualize my why is based on the sub questions. So that's how you're able to answer the why question, right? So this is the first one. I think you can be clear about that. And with your knowledge in this field, and in teaching sociology, in teaching your experience is one, so you will understand even more. You can speculate even more factors in there. So what happens is that we scope the question so that within the scope you're safe. As long as you answer the scope, within the scope you're safe.
And Prof, the scoping, why I scope, for example, the internal or external factor, have to connect it to the background and theory also.
Yes, which I'm going to come at the end of the point I want to say afterwards, which is about meta genesis. All right. So let's go to research question number 2. So research questions, as I said last time, many times in my supervision, is the compass of the research. So all questions, all research is about answering the research question. Hanel is a bit cold now, right? Maybe because I'm sitting down here, so I'm feeling the air coming straight to me. How students from non-educational study programs facing pre-service teacher professional education programs for sociology subject. Maybe here first the grammar. How do students from non-educational study programs face pre-service teachers, right? So here we have another point here about the phrasing of research question. So this is a how question. So you are interested in looking at, give me some examples of the findings that you might have. Let me read your assumption again. Each topic in each course has much steps, smart with a specific, measurable, is that the one? Okay. Steps, which means have many assignments on short time. Okay, and the assignment are designed to be more practical in preparing them to have enough skills and products to do teaching practical. Okay, the program is designed not only in class but also in schools each semester. It means they have limited time to practice more related teaching and learning. Okay.
Maybe I will show, in my imagination, I will show the data, how, for example, they facing the theoretical when in the class, how when it's practical in the school, where each semester they have many credits and a lot of assignment. On the other hand, they did not have enough time to learn about the education, the basic of education. So how they will complete all the assignment, all the process of learning.
Okay, all right, good. I understand that now. Let's go ahead. All right. Let's phrase it in a way that your findings can be answered easily, effectively, comprehensively, sufficiently. Right. So, if I were to rephrase this one example is, what are the behavioral dynamics of non-educational study programs in handling in the context of pre-teacher professional education program? The behavioral dynamics. So the behavioral dynamics, so it's not how, because behavioral dynamics, as you explained, it can be not just how they cope, but also other things they do that might not help. Right? They might do certain other things that you say they feel stressed, they get distracted. Are you capturing that part, sir?
Maybe you also capture it because it's also stressful for them.
It's also stressful for them, and they might. So in your findings, you might have certain behavior that are actually showing stressfulness or showing high anxiety, right?
It's also include if how they strategy to fulfill.
How they strategize. So behavioral dynamics is a word that you could use, a phrase that you could use to characterize not just how they advance towards that, but also how they cope with it, right, psychologically, but not necessarily advancing, but they cope with it, or other types of behaviors in the context of this facing the pre-service teachers professional education. So for instance, they have okay, I'm not sure how to do this. I'm a senior, or I'm not sure that they might copy the answer from somebody else.
Or they copy from the from
internet. That kind. So it might not really help them, but you are capturing all the behavioral dynamics.
I'm afraid that we also produce non-professional teachers.
Yes.
Although the program said professional, the process is not make them professional.
Not them professional. So you can capture all this. You can collect the data about all these different behaviors, right? So you open up space for capturing the data as in the social reality itself, right? So what are the behavioral dynamics, if I have, of students from in facing pre-service teachers professional, so you put in facing, or in the context of, you can use those different words, right? In the context of in facing vis-a-vis, so you can use that word vis-a-vis, in relation to, right? In relation to, right? So, or even during. There's another space during. So that. You know, things like you remember when my friend was doing his masters, I was doing my masters. He was doing his degree, right? If I'm mistaken. You know, a problem, and then it was late at night, and we went out, and it was at 12 o'clock at night to have donut and coffee. You know, so I mean, you want to, and it seems like I've been to many cities, including Gorontalo. The cafe culture is a big culture among university students now. The youth, the cafe culture is like, so there's something there in the cafe culture. I mean, I'm talking about Gorontalo, Medan, of course, Bandung, Jakarta, you don't have to mention it, lah. Right? So the cafe is one space. Gorontalo also. So we are talking about a phenomena that is cutting across, is happening there among the youth, and they would know, because I was there, they would, oh, this one you have live music here, there's no live music there. This is where the old folks go. And when the lecturers, like this in Lampung, they say, oh, if you don't go there, there's too many young people go there, you know, loud music, you know, that kind of thing. So we go to places where there's no music or no loud music, okay. So you become older that way. Okay, let's go to the next one. I think that's useful, right?
Prof,
yeah.
Should I make a soup?
Yeah, I think you could do that too.
Oh.
It depends on how you want to develop this question. You know, you can do or if you think you want to maintain a general assessment, you could do that. So you can allow your space for something that's more flexible, or if you have something that is framework based, you say external, internal, or something like that, you can put that in. Research question number 3: how students from non-education study program continue their career. Career is spelling the EER. Career, after graduating from a pre-service. Okay. Let me say, after graduating from the pre-service teachers professional education program. I'm saying in a general way, what career path they pursue. But then career path is also an assumption there, right? They might not choose a career path. They might be, they might decidedly to become unemployed. Could be so that, right? But then you really be in your mind, you know that the career path, or you want to generalize it a bit, it can be what path do they pursue after. You can remove career, or you want to put bracket career, so you can do that. Now with the bracket career, and then you're actually focusing on career, but they might choose a different path to become a monk in a temple or something like that, and go and betapa kejap. So a career, yeah. Career, and then path. What path do they pursue? Right. So after graduating from the study programs. So there's a phenomena in China right now, I'm guessing many different cities as well, where graduates are becoming unemployed, and then they live together with other graduates, but in a little apartment, one or two of them are working. So the one or two of them are supporting the others, right? So that is happening. They do not want to go back to their hometown because they feel embarrassed, they haven't achieved anything yet, right? Or they might work in odd jobs, sometimes like a waiter, sometimes like a Gojek kind of thing. That is another phenomenon. So the youth unemployed or underemployed, or In fact, I was talking about this to a sociologist in Medan, the head of master's program in Medan. There's a phenomenon, and we were discussing this, of students working 3 days, 4 days, and then relax for another 2 or 3 days. So they might work as a Gojek or Grab or whatever, or waiter or waitress for 2 or 3 days, and then they want to enjoy life differently right now. So there's a shift in this work-life balance. There's a shift in career aspiration and career ambitions, right? But here we are lecturers, and we want that because we have a career paradigm. So they might not have this career paradigm that is prescribed to them. So and some of them are influencers, some of them are part-time photographers. We have one example here, the barber in Bakti, not Ajab, Rasis. His name is Rasis, which is interesting. He has graduated, right? He has visual graphic skills, right? So he can do web designing and all that. So he works on a project, and during the graduation, he will become photographer. He started a little studio at the barber shop, right? And he travels a lot. He likes traveling, right? Every now and then I hear he's in Sabah, Sarawak, and back in hometown and all that. So there's this whole path that they are following, right? So, but that can also be explained. Also explained by the uncertainty that arises from the employment opportunity, right? If the employment opportunity absorbs them very quickly, they might not follow this path, right? Yeah. So their path can be a justification to their unemployment or underemployment. So this is where the idealism versus materialism explanation comes in, right? Sometimes people justify their philosophy based on their material condition. Well, I choose this way because I like work-life balance. You guys work 9 to 4, 9 to 5, come back, like crazy, but you give them a good corporate job, they'll take it, right? Or I fight for the youth, I'm LSM guy, I'm Ormas guy, I'm like millennials fighting. Suddenly, staff khusus president. Oh, okay. which is what happened, by the way, right? So it depends on the other path that is being offered to them. So maybe that explains why they're choosing, why they ngopi terus gitu kan. Maybe not, I don't know. But this is a very fascinating research question you want to ask, what path do they choose after that? So
although they have red carpet.
Which is even more exciting phenomenon to study, right? So and then as teachers, there's more assurance, job stability, and all that, right? As a government servant, right? Civil service with agreement. So there's agreement or contract, which one?
The bahasa is dengan perjanjian.
Dengan perjanjian, artinya contract lah ya. Which is 2-3 years, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Same. So I think if you have some clarity, if you want to work with this one, this will be a viable research question to work with, and you can possibly see the type of findings you can obtain from the research, and I think that's actually important to make it viable research. Okay, the last one. Oh, am I doing that? Yeah, sorry. Alright. The last part is the term you use, metagenesis, right? I like the idea of when you have the theoretical gymnastics, theoretical juxtaposition from one discipline to another discipline. That said, you want to be careful because there are assumptions or from one paradigm to another paradigm. Right, I think metagenesis is when you have the type of cellular development where it is open-ended development depending on the environment. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's environment stimulus,
Yeah.
right? So the cell develop with their internal programming and the external stimulus or something like that, right? So you want to explain that? I think it's suitable, right? I think it's suitable, but you need to be able to explain that and to think about what limitations they might have in your research, you know, or are you making presupposition that should not be made, you know, that kind of thing. But I think it is suitable because they are actually responding to the environment, but they do have their own genetic codes, right? So, or the millennial or the Gen Z or whatever. Sometimes this Gen Z and millennial thing is also very Western, you know. You go to Palestine, you know, it's not relevant anymore, right? They're being bombed, right? You go to sub-Saharan desert in Africa, it's a different millennial generation, right? You go to Amazon, it's a different millennial, and also it's sometimes we use the theory of the West and we apply it to us. Maybe it's applicable, maybe it's not, right? I'm not sure. Maybe it's applicable to some extent, but not completely. But I think this one will be interesting because you are bringing in. I'm not sure there's a social theory to this part of explanation.
This is come from Margaret Archer. She looks about morphogenesis from structure, culture, and agent to time to time, from time to time. So I also have same logic of this theory because I also capture this phenomena from input, process, and output. It means time to time. And also the structure, but I still looking for the culture aspect and structure and agent means the students and also the lecturers, how they influence through this process. But as PhD, I'm not used to theory. Right? I have to challenge the theory.
Okay.
Yeah, but I still looking for
a particular theory. Okay. But this is a good beginning. Now, of course, one of the concerns that social scientists would have when you use a biological theory is social Darwinism. Social Darwinism talks about survival of the fittest, or survival of the smartest, or survival of the most adaptive, right? So social Darwin did not say the strongest will survive. Darwin actually said the one who can adapt most will survive, right? So, but he also makes certain assumptions. So the conflict theories might not agree to Darwinism, social Darwinism point of view. Basically putting a lot on the agent instead of the environment. Right? So the thing about you use metagenesis is that there's also environmental stimuli. The stimuli or stimulus from the environment can affect cellular development. So what is coming from outside can also influence the development, the path that they take, right? But I do not understand the morphogenesis perspective completely. Morphogenesis perspective. But you will need to deepen your understanding about it. But I know that it has an environment element to the perspective. It's not just how well you adapt, right? So that's very social Darwinism perspective. So I think morphogenesis perspective consider the idea of the cell has not been developed yet. The formation of the cell is dependent on the stimulus from outside too. But beyond that, my knowledge about it is limited. So you are the one who studied this one. So you want to deepen your knowledge and able to see the application as well as limitation of this metaphor, right? Of this, or you can always come up with the word neo. So it's your version of your version of morphogenesis, right? So it's you can offer the critique of Margaret Archer. Margaret Archer, not Margaret Thatcher, the other was the Prime Minister, Margaret Archer. And then this is your version of it, right? Which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm still looking for it. This is maybe some graduate did morphogenesis, but some of them may be on stagnant. It is called morphogenesis dan satu lagi konsepnya saya lupa. Yang tidak berkembang itu ada konsepnya.
Oh, like stunting or something. Morphostunting.
Morphostatis.
Morphostasis.
Morphostatis.
Stasis. Yeah.
Although
Stasis.
we have a lot of program, it's
Still the same. Yeah. So you can now if you want to theorize, I can actually do a deductive kind of theorizing like I did with Hanif just now, right? I can imagine 4 different types over here. I like this typology thing, right? One is like metamorphosize into a teacher, right? There's the one, right? The other one is doesn't metamorphosize at all, right? There's one. The other one is transform into something else, right? Or the other one is like is half there, half here. Which is what is happening in what I was having discussion with the Medan professor, that they are working but they are not fully committed to the work, right? So they pursue a career path but half career path. The career path is not so. Career is secondary, social life is primary, right? So what's more important is that bisa ngopi 2-3 days I can not work, something
just
like that.
It means maybe just become a teacher. That's not professional is okay.
Not even a teacher, not even a teacher. So
in this case maybe.
In this case, we are talking about this case, right? So one becomes a teacher, right? One completely changed, not to become a teacher, become some other job, right? So transform the typology, pursue completely different career path. Housewife. Okay, but a housewife is interesting. That so completely career path and jual martabak, something like that, right? Never underestimate people who jual martabak. Right? Never underestimate that. Yes. Apa-apa kita amin aja dulu. And then the other one is the stasis, when they basically kind of stagnant, nothing happens to them, right? They become completely unemployed or something like that, right? Stagnant. The other one is they shift the path of life from work to social. So work become secondary, social become primary. So work is just to support their social life. So like they either think of working part time, working enough so that they can travel, working enough so they can go to the cafe, enjoy, or clubs or whatever. Because the traveling and the cafe culture is actually a big youth culture right now. The youth aspires. I think a lot of people aspire that, right? Like the traveling. So if you look at the last 10 years, right, youth have been traveling even more compared. If you look at 10 years ago, youth do not travel as much as youth nowadays. You can make the argument. So traveling is more. I'm not saying it's bad though. I'm saying.
How about the teachers? They think that the salaries is not enough, so
they
take another job.
So you can develop that. So I think that is a common phenomenon to a second job thing. So think about the idea of a neomorphogenesis theory, that they can metamorphosize into different types of career path or life path, right? Different path of life. So it's no longer about career anymore. It's about path, about life cycle, but the path of life is more about father. And housewife is another example, right? I've seen a real life example where an academic's daughter said, I don't want to pursue this education and career. I just want to marry somebody and then I'll be happy, right? I've seen Westerners saying that we do not want men to become women. We want men to become provider, who works hard, who is loyal, give money to me, and I'll take care of the children. I will cook. I will take care. The Westerner talking about that, and then you see the shift among working women. Might not be corporate women, might be just working women of some sort. They say sudah capek lah, nggak betah lagi gitu kan. I just want to be a housewife and have a family and just stop working. And there are people, even actually I know some people who are graduate from good universities, right? They decide that okay, I want to have a family life. I want to take care of my children. My husband's income is enough. After all, my husband is a dean. I'm whatever. For example, right? This is a real life example, by the way, right? I can and she's good in her English is good, highly educated. I can get my children. So this is another life path that's interesting. So so your theory is about more like sociology of work theory. Go into the theory about sociology of work. I think you can find some theories there.
Actually, it's depend on the subject, right?
It depends on subject, yeah.
Because I was identify how many students with non-education background on the first
Yes.
and the second graduate.
Yes.
And then I will look how about that after this.
Yes. Yeah, it depends on the subject. When the subject you're talking about the people involved. Yes.
But it's maybe model identification model about the.
Yes. So, but you can come up with different typologies or models, whatever.
Actually, by this research, I want to critique about our government process of this program.
Yes. And I think that's an important point because the part about the morphogenesis is the external stimuli, right? And as I was explaining, so you have all this lifestyle, right? Different. You want to ask if the government offers you right now to become a teacher and become a proper ASN, a proper civil servant, would you become a teacher? All right. And well, they say, well, if I teacher, they might say, or they say, teacher workload is like this. Then you say, if the teacher's workload is different, where you can actually have a good work-life balance with this kind of, would you be like that? Because you want to pursue the line of questioning that can help become a solution to the government too. Because we are talking about, like you said, the teacher's crisis here, or teaching crisis here, or education crisis, right? So it is a crisis because not just for the teachers, but for the students. Yeah, for the students, for the next generation. It's like if you do not solve this problem, you're creating not just problem for the people who are involved, for the next generation. So you want to ask the type of questions, what would change your mind question, what would change your mind to take the path of being a teacher, right? So there are different models of work models, like in Scandinavian countries and all that, right? Even for a type of students or graduates who want to have work-life balance, they can actually exchange the time with the husband, for instance. So the husband takes 7% of the teaching, 30% they take the teaching. So they can do that kind of thing, or with the co-workers. So flexi hours or flexible working can adapt to different lifestyle and work-life balance preference. So the kind of question that you want to pose to them is that kind of question as well, right? So this is where you want to be able to direct the findings to the type of findings that could help develop some solutions to the greater problem, which is the teaching crisis or education crisis, or whatever crisis calls us now. I forgot what crisis is it. Among many crises in the world, food crisis.
Because it's not unfinished homework.
Yeah. So sometimes the government policy, they think one policy they introduce can, even the red carpet is basically a red carpet, right?
Other research also show that teachers and politics have a correlation.
Oh yeah, that's another story, of course. That's another story.
So
Yeah.
I asked about how I have to. This is my start about the background and maybe suggestion how to construct it. Because should I compare it with another country, or should I compare it with the other aspect like politics, like economy, something like that?
Okay. I think with what you have, you were asking real deep question, extended question just now, right? That you were saying, what would bring them back to education, right? If you know, there's a lot of data you can get from there, right? Yeah. So now it has to do with your sampling size or your samples. But you're focusing on Malang here, right? The graduates from Malang, right? Universitas Negeri Malang, right? You get focusing. You do have access to them, right? So
And also I try to construct why Malang is not only about the data that I can access, but I found that it is a battleground for sociology.
Yes. I have no problem about choosing that, because you have made justification, because other areas do not have that program, like the sociology education program, right? So that you have made your justification well by choosing that particular sample, which is good coincidence for you, right? You have access. That's very important. But you have real access. You have more than, you can access a lot right here, but you can go more than 30, 40, 50 students or something like that. You can go survey, you can go in-depth interview too, right? So I think you can develop some model. If you like, you can do. We haven't discussed methodology, but you can develop a sequential one. You can, if you have a sequential one, which is good too, because if you have access, so you can do exploratory and then come up with a model to, agree, strongly disagree kind of thing, right?
I construct from their experience, constructing model, and then quantitative, like
the quantitative. So you go qualitative and then do quantitative. And in the quantitative, you can ask the strongly agree, disagree. Under this condition, would you go to, become a teacher? Would you want to go become a teacher? Which particular scenario, right? Which particular scenario would they go become a teacher, right? And then that's actually a possible solution. So for this type of students, like the housewife or house husband type of the house husband is a phenomenon too, right? People. They come to what would be a solution for them? What would attract them to become teachers, right? And there might, the solution to this might not be just one solution. It can be multiple solutions. We could have part-time teachers who are actually qualified, right? And then there are people who think they can become pedagang juga gitu kan. Jadi so like the fishermen community in Malaysia, so not all of them are full-time. So the government allows them to, some of them to be part-time, but the part-time because they might be working in a day and then a certain time maybe. So if you want to allow that kind of flexibility as well. If it's
Actually, the issue in our government, Ministry of Education, developed the marketplace for teacher. So connecting between demand and supply, cutting the process bureaucracy.
yes.
So the demand and supply can fulfill directly from one platform.
Okay.
But I still not have enough information about it. This is
Okay,
still
okay.
an issue.
Okay. Sounds very Nadim to me.
Yeah. I don't know after 2024.
Yes. But I think it is definitely one viable solution. I'm not sure it is the solution. It's a viable solution because for the millennials and Gen Z, the apps thing is actually, and when you have choices, that helps them to see. Oh, there are more, but there must be choiceless, not just one. I think so. There must be more than one solution of the type of work of being a teacher. You maybe allow more off days, 4 days of teaching, 3 days. You can come up with that kind of possible model from the interviews themselves. I can ask, the idea of qualitative research is be able to do probing questions. Right? How about like this? How about like this? How about like this? Okay. Sometimes they haven't thought about it. You help them think, and then they say, oh yeah, I like that. Or sometimes I like to take off, 40 days. Tabligh. Yeah. Apa ya? Jumaat tabligh ya? Jumaat tabligh ya?
Itu cuma itu.
Jumaat tabligh ada kan di Indonesia?
Understand tabligh? Can you understand?
Public akbar gitu kan. Datang pengajian.
Bukan. Dia ada orang tabligh
Yang pergi ke masjid berdakwah, ajak orang ke masjid itu.
Untuk membawa orang ajak.
Ada enggak?
In Indonesia, I never seen that.
You haven't encountered yet, ya?
Yeah, never.
Yes, that's right, Prof. The tabligh.
Jemaah tabligh.
Oh, okay. Sudah start lama kan?
Jamaah tabligh.
Ada kan?
Yes, it's a long phenomena in Indonesia too. I'm not sure how extensive it is. Pizarro, is that?
Rajin.
Raji. Oh, sorry. Raji, you have that, right, Raji?
Yes, Prof. Yes.
Is it very few?
Muhammadiyah, it's become a bit, some concern because related to the Masjid Muhammadiyah. Muhammadiyah people must organize their masjid.
Yes.
Otherwise, Jamaah tabligh will take over the masjid.
But you're saying that they have increased in numbers to the point that they can take over the masjid. You're saying that?
Could be.
Could be, yeah.
Happens a lot.
Because they're very consistent, right?
Yeah.
Every week they will come to the masjid.
Every day.
Every day, and then every asar they have ta'lim wa ta'lum. They will read right.
Take over the masjid.
Yes. Even they live in masjid for a few days.
They live 3 days. They live there in 3 days. The reason I know is because I was part of it, so I know. So I experienced a lot of things myself, right? My brother as well. So the tabligh people is very committed. It's like, and they are fluid organization. There is no organization. It's almost like it's a cell. But it's not controversial. They don't talk about politics. They don't talk about empat hal tidak boleh sentuh politik, politik pangkat, business, apalah gitulah, 4 unsur gitu. So very effective way of. So every week they will walk around. Every week they will have people coming over the masjid. Every month there will be 3 days going up to another masjid. Every year 40 days. Lifetime 4 months. So there are, and there are people who are committed like that. So I'm not sure. I think Oh, you haven't heard about that, yeah? There's a religious movement that is selain Muhammadiyah, NU dan lain-lain, ada lagi tabligh namanya. Cuma tabligh. In Malaysia is quite strong, by the way. They built a mosque, masjid. Literally they built with their own hands.
Even in desa siswa, bro.
Oh, desa
Ya,
siswa,
ya,
betul.
tabligh, bro.
Betul.
Tabligh, bro.
Betul.
Last time they knocked saya.
Asrama, ya,
Ya.
ya. InsyaAllah kami datang ini. Bisa ikut kan? Ya. Azam. Okey, ya. Nanti dah ajak, bisa pergi 3 hari ikut kami gitu. Ya kan? The dakwah is very strong, man. That time tu. The ikram muslimin gitu kan. Dapat dia tepuk-tepuk belakang kita gitu. Very powerful dakwah group, by the way. Yeah, which I do respect them to some extent though. Anyways, so there are people who have that kind of lifestyle, right? I think we urgent at this point because it's coming close to 1 o'clock and there's solat and because Jumat prayer is like 1:05 or 1:10 or something like that. Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Joanne, for this progress. I think next week we have 100 and a couple more. I don't know, Eugene is hiding somewhere.
Eugene.
Yeah. So